Jazz Weekly describes the former actress as fun and quirky. She's hip and a hoot, wispy and romantic. She slithers and oozes. Oh my God. And cleverly swings. Wowzers. It's Angela Verbrugge in the Jazz Spotlight. Welcome, Angela.
Thanks for having me on Jazz Spotlight.
Thank you. You're welcome. So good to see you today. Thanks for your time today. Let's start at the beginning. How did you come to music? I know your mom played piano and your grandma played organ.
Yes, that's right. Good research. Yeah, I think these things tend to start early. Like you and Corey met each other in first grade, you said before we started recording the shows. That's these things start to permeate one's being, I guess, at a young age. My mom played piano at the different concerts at Fairfield Elementary in Amherstview, Ontario. And I took piano lessons, classical piano lessons, and I took some guitar lessons in grade 6. I started playing trombone and was in all the band programs at my school, choir. We had a very, very good music program at my high school. We competed in festivals and things. And then from there, I went on to acting school, which had some musical elements as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too. But at 16, you landed a part in Anything Goes, and that commenced a lifelong love affair with the music of Cole Porter. Tell us about that.
I think you find your people. And so, like you were saying too, about living in an artist community,
Mhm.
that, I was going to more of a rural high school, actually. Like I took auto shop, and there was a lot of headbangers at my school and guys who like to get out in the bush and drink and like crash cars and stuff like that. And then, when I got into the arts, I kind of, oh, these are my people. So I was in there were some productions in Kingston, Wizard of Oz, and Anything Goes and whatnot. So I really enjoyed trying to learn choreography for the first time, and singing and acting and getting dressed up, and sharing the love and joy of music with audiences.
Yeah, and you were born in Kingston, Ontario. And at the age of 20, you're one of the youngest graduates of the acclaimed acting program at George Brown College, Toronto. So that means you got into the program around 17, right at graduation time.
Yep, I auditioned, I guess, when I was 16, and I got accepted, which was a class of only about 30 people. So it was,
Right.
I think they had like 500, 600 applicants or something like that. So I did get offered a scholarship to go to York as well, but I turned it down, and went for George Brown because they had a lot of people who were actually involved in the film industry, in the theater community, that were acting at Stratford and Shaw, and
Yeah.
that were, on the ground as coaches to different productions and whatnot. So
Yeah. And were
um,
you auditioning for musicals as well as film and TV, or were you just doing the
we did
act?
do some musicals at George Brown. I was Cinderella in year 2 up at Hart House Theater for busloads of children, and that was singing, and Sleeping Beauty. We did another year, I think. So yeah.
That's fun. That's fun. And after that, you decided to move to Vancouver out west to continue your acting career. And then tell us about your life-changing events that happened there.
So I thought the film industry seemed like it was happening in Vancouver. And I one night I was waiting after actually I'd gone to Monster Trucks at the Sky Dome with my friend, and I was waiting for the streetcar to come, and my eyelashes froze together. And I thought, I think that I can find somewhere else to live that where my eyelashes won't be freezing together. Because like I had teared up and I like couldn't open my eyes. So the next day I went to the reference library, and I learned that Vancouver, Victoria, Salt Spring Island were like the warmest year-round climates to live in Canada.
In
So
Canada.
I convinced my boyfriend to put everything in a big truck, and we moved west. But when we got out there, I got an agent. I started doing a few productions and meeting people. But yeah, one night I was on my way home, and I got in a head-on collision on the Sea to Sky, the very steep, windy highway up to Whistler. And I broke my left femur and my right ankle and cracked my sacrum. And at the time, I had been kind of living pretty precariously, like acting, waitressing, and I couldn't sustain it. So I took a job in this new thing called .com. And my dad had been a computer professor at Sir Sanford Fleming in Peterborough. So I was very comfortable with computers. So I started teaching people about the internet, and also working in like marketing and business development for e-learning and children's privacy on the internet companies.
Good for you. And I just want to ask you, how long was that recovery from the accident to, I guess that ended your acting career, obviously, you thought?
It kind of did. I had first delusions that I would go back, but I had to limp for a little while. I don't anymore, but at the time it was a little difficult to go into those kind of auditions that are so competitive for young people, especially because
Uh,
every theater school is putting tons of talent out onto the market. So I think yeah, I just kind of at that point thought,
you
uh,
reinvented yourself again in the
yeah,
kitchen.
I reinvented. Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know if the guy that brought you out west became your husband or not, but oh, okay. All right then. But you also met a man, fell in love, and tell us about your trip to Belize. You went on holiday and
Yeah, I met my husband on a flight to New York, and I was going for business, and he was going for running a marathon. And we took sort of a pre-honeymoon to Belize, and we went out on this little sailboat that the resort had, but we were just going to boot around the bay, so it was no big deal. And so they didn't have any life jackets handy. We thought, that's okay, we'll just go out. But this hull had a problem, and it hit some sort of rock that we didn't have a map or anything, and started glug 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 filling with water, and the little area where you sit was filling with water, and I was bailing like crazy. This is in an atoll like way off the coast of Belize, like there's nobody around, and this was more of a camping resort. But out of the blue, the resort next door had this pregnant woman who was on a tour. There was like a little resort, but you never saw anyone, never. And she's coming along, and I luckily was wearing a white shirt. I waved it. They rescued us. They towed the boat to this sandbar, and we were okay. But yeah, it was a little sketchy because of, the chop, and just when you're kind of panicking, your heart, you're already tired from bailing, whether you can make the distance swimming back. So that was kind of a little brush with possible
oh
drowning.
yeah,
Yeah.
you referred to it as luck, but it's also I was thinking, that was meant to be. She was there, and you were waving your white top, and you got saved again. So that's
I couldn't
crazy.
believe my eyes. We hadn't seen anyone in a boat all week.
Yeah.
Like,
So you
inside the atoll, outside the atoll, people fish and things, but inside there was like nobody around. We were snorkeling all week, and yeah.
anybody? Yeah.
So
Wow.
take a life jacket, people. Don't let people convince you, oh, it'll be fine. You just never know.
Yeah,
Bring a
but
life
it's lessons.
jacket. Bring a bailing bucket. Bring a whistle. Do the things.
I'll do the thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So then you both got eventually married. You married each other, and then you had some kids. Life was
Three
going on
kids.
pretty good,
Yep.
and then another obstacle showed up in your life.
Yeah, I had kids 1.5, 3, and 4, and I went in for routine screening why women go for PAPs, and I had cervical cancer that had spread already. Unfortunately, it wasn't detected soon enough, even though I went for all the tests. So people keep going for all your tests, ladies. It had already spread, so I had to have chemo and radiation and whatnot, and it was more serious chance of not making it. But I did everything. I did hyperbaric chamber. I did hot sauna things. I did all kind of choke down all kinds of mushroom powders and vitamin D and vitamin C IVs and all kinds of Myers IVs. And my life was trying to get better from that. So for a few years, you think, oh, if I get some sort of a diagnosis, then I'll do these dreams that I have. But the reality is sometimes you're kind of tied to the medical system at that point. So one of my messages is always, try to live your dreams now while you can, while you have strength. And I had a chronic neck injury after my car accident as well that made traveling exhausting. I'm very grateful right now to be able to fly to Japan and Taiwan and places, and and carry a 50-pound suitcase and a 25-pound backpack around on
Yeah.
these tours as a solo female traveler a lot of the time. So yeah, go do your thing. Try to make it work somehow.
Yeah, I was going to say during a seminar for patients, you were advised to follow your dreams, weren't you?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Inspire Health, this sort of cancer charity that's partially funded by the government, partially by the Prince of Wales and other sponsors. I went and they said, yeah, try to shift the negative energy in your life. Shift whether that's a job that you don't like or whatever. Your best chance of your immune system healing this is for you not to be, under a lot of negativity and stress, because then the immune system is like in your parasympathetic versus your sympathetic, or vice versa. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So it changed your life, obviously, right? So let's ask you some question. Angela, after all of that and what a journey you've been on, how did you even get started? How did you even pick up the ball and start running with it again? Like, back into the jazz field.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are held back in our lives by fear, and it was scary. It was really scary because I didn't. Some people that you see on the scene that are young and doing really well, they had a lot of mentors, camps, and or parents that were in jazz. So they've been hearing it since they were babies. So to kind of come into it later is harder. It's definitely harder because your brain, just like learning a language, it's harder later on. So it was definitely intimidating, but I found my way to some summer programs and some camps because I couldn't really go back to school full time with 3 kids at home.
Of course.
Would just be a lot of, I mean, you could, but it's a big sacrifice.
Did you find some mentors?
Pardon me?
Did you find a mentor to work with?
Yes, I found some different mentors, and just yeah, I kind of was. I asked people. I mean, I went to Karen Allison in New York. I asked Diana Panton, how does she release music? I asked Emily Claire Barlow for a consult. I asked, people on our local scene in Vancouver for coaching. I took technique lessons. I kind of just really dove in head first and was like, at first I would just go to a jazz jam and like sing one song, and that would be enough stress to try to remember the lyrics and what I was supposed to do and what note I was coming in on and all of these things. And then it just snowballs.
And did you actually prepare one song a month to sing in a jam session?
Yes, I remember going to one on Main Street in Vancouver, and just sitting in the car and kind of trying not to go in and like maybe I would be too late to get a spot to sing because I was so nervous. And they said to me, "Oh, are you a singer?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to sing. It doesn't mean I'm a singer. Am I a singer? Am I a singer?"
Yeah. And let's talk about some of your songs that you've written, some songs that you performed on your albums and things. Your song "Running Late" is like you've been reading my mail. I thought it was so cute. It's a great song. That is
Well,
so
I
fun.
have. Oh no, I'm not supposed to say that.
Right?
Don't forget to pay your hydro bill.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I leave the house 3 times when I'm going somewhere because I forgot that. I go back in the house. Oh, I forgot that. I go back in the house. That kind of thing.
right. So yeah, in those days, I had 3 young kids, and unfortunately, they had developed some anxiety responses. Like when I had cancer, I had a lot of different caregivers. The parents were very loving and helpful, but also some different nannies and babysitters, and they were very attached to me and didn't want to go to school, didn't want to go to lessons, and
Aw.
so everything was a scramble to get anywhere in those days,
Yeah.
to try to get the kids to school on time. And we were unfortunately so often late, like the last minute something would happen. They would have different color shoes, or we'd have to remember it was a snack day or
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, so Running Late was inspired by Ray Gallen's beautiful like bebop melody.
Yeah.
And I just kept hearing, I'm running late, I'm running late. And then I made this list of all the reasons that I have been late. And then I Googled like what are common reasons, and I made up more lists. And then sometimes I just got kind of silly because I had needed a rhyme scheme match, about
Yeah.
donating. I stopped to donate blood. Like the excuses get more implausible as the song goes on.
Yeah. What about 20th Century Fox? Good play on words. Is that about your hubby?
No,
Oh,
he's actually 6'9", Dutch. He's not red haired. He's not a Scotsman.
I was wondering about
Um,
the ginger thing.
but yeah, I that one is written by Australian New Yorker Nick Hempton, who's a wonderful saxophonist and a fantastic composer. I'm working on some more of his compositions for adding lyrics, and he kindly added that verse for me. But when I heard it, I listened to it just on repeat, and 20th Century Fox. So I heard the tagline, and then I
Yeah.
thought, well, what could this be about? I don't want to write about the film company. So I thought, what about a fox being a man, kind of turning the doors analogy on its head? Well, the classic,
Yeah.
1930s, she's a foxy lady or she's a fox,
Yeah.
but turning it on its head. And instead, it's the handsome guy, but he's a little bit old fashioned. He's got the manners of a gentleman, but he's great, but is he too old fashioned for her? So this is the dilemma in the
I
song.
liked it. Smart. Very smart. Yeah. And Enough's Enough, is that a song about your kids? Is that a song about your spouse? Or is that a song about all of them, all the above?
Yeah, it's all of us, and that was written during coronavirus. And so again, that's a Ray Gallen melody, and he calls it Plus One. He recorded it with Kenny Washington and David Wong. But I heard enough's enough, enough's enough in his like melody, and then I thought, well, what could be enough of? And then I thought cleaning.
Right,
So
right, right.
then, all these things that like for some reason we get irrationally angry. Like if we have just cleaned something, like, okay, if the house is messy and then people make more mess, it's okay. But if you have just gotten that floor mopped and cleaned and someone comes home from the beach and tracks sand in, if
Yeah.
you have just changed your sheets and you come up and someone's eating a croissant in your bed,
Right,
right?
right.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, I get
then
it.
you're irrationally angry. You've just cleaned up the whole kitchen, and instead of putting that mug in the dishwasher, someone just sits it in the sink or the counter. And like,
Dirty dishes.
so that song, yeah, it kind of goes through that angst of how you want to just slam the door, or when you're at your wits end, you've just been sweating and cleaning your butt off, and then whoosh, somebody
Right.
comes and messes it up.
And the song "This Is Manhattan," was that inspired by your trip to New York?
Partially, of course, because how can you write a song about New York without having been there?
And on that note, Angela, how does a girl from Victoria get to New York? Tell us that story.
One step at a time. No,
Yeah.
usually, well, so yeah, I was at the Vermont summer camp, and Sheila Jordan was there, and she often works bass voice duo with Cameron Brown, who was a jazz messenger, toured with Don Pullen, George Adams for many years, has been a first call bassist on the scene for a long time. And so Cameron said to me, "Oh, hey, Ange, do you have an album out?" And I said, no, I'm just kind of, getting sorted and working on things. And he said, "Well, if you want to come to New York, I'll like associate produce it. I'll co-produce it, whatever you want. I'll help you out with that." And so I was like, okay, well, let's do it. So, I put a date on the calendar, and then I think a lot of things for someone of my personality, that like I am kind of a person that knows a lot of different. I like mushroom hunting. I like gardening. I'm dealing with kids, and like I'm kind of a multitasker. But having a deadline on the calendar, I was like, okay, I got to have these arrangements ready. They better be good. I better write some songs for this so that it's something you know different and interesting. And so like, what am I going to do? And so this kind of deadline inspired a lot of hard work to prepare for that debut album.
Yeah, and that came out in 2019, right? The night we couldn't say goodnight.
Exactly.
Yeah, good story. You've appeared at top jazz clubs internationally in the UK, Germany, France, Japan, Taiwan, Luxembourg, Turkey, and across Canada. How is it for you on the road? Do you enjoy travel? Is it difficult for you, or do you enjoy it?
I love it. Once I'm out the door, I find like the week leading up to it is very stressful to get the sets organized, the paperwork, packing, like fairly light as a female traveler with makeup and hair and dresses and charts and merch and everything. It's a stressful thing to get out the door. But once I'm out, it's like, especially as a mom, I was always cooking and cleaning meals. So when I'm on the road, I get to kind of choose what restaurants I eat at, and I get to choose where to go and when to wake up. And, so I found coming out of COVID, my very first international date was in Istanbul, and I went alone.
Wow.
And so I was suddenly like out of like being like in the house in Victoria and not going anywhere to being like in the Grand Bazaar and in these beautiful mosques and
Yeah.
walking by the Bosphorus. And it was like, whoa, I like traveling. I like traveling alone, and I like eating food and meeting people. Like we have this wonderful international jazz community. So it's a little bit different than just going as a tourist. You're meeting new friends everywhere you go. So yeah, I really love traveling, and yeah, this last year, even deciding to do a coast to coast thing and making it right to St. John's, Newfoundland, and the fall before I'd played in Tofino. So truly coast to coast in Canada.
Yeah. And last year you were nominated for Jazz Artist of the Year at the Western Canada Music Awards, Canadian Music Awards, of course. The well-deserved recognition is nice, huh?
Yeah, that was a nice surprise because there's only 5 nominations for all of Western Canada, and that's all instruments, all genres of jazz, subgenres. So it was really special that they recognized my hard work. But yeah, I'd released an all original album with all my original lyrics and new arrangements and some compositions, and been touring a ton and playing a lot of local gigs and supporting other artists on the scene. I do consulting as well. So it was really nice because I had the pedal to the metal that year. So it was nice to be recognized for it.
Good for you. Congratulations. Tell
Thank
us
you.
about some of the artists you've shared the stage with in your career.
Oh, well, a lot of the time I work with New York City pianist Ray Gallen tonight, actually, or well, in the night that we're recording the interview. He's at Smalls and Mesro's Jazz Club with Peter Washington, Kenny Washington, who many of you might have heard with Bill Charlap and other first call sort of straight ahead jazz pianists,
Yeah.
kind of one of the great rhythm sections. So he's wonderful. He's been on the scene as a pianist in New York City since he was like, in his late teens. He first met Kenny Washington, who was working at a record store, and he's played with Lionel Hampton and got to accompany artists like Dizzy Gillespie and Joe Williams, and it's just a who's who of musicians. He was mentored by like John Lewis and Hank Jones, and so Jackie Byard. So to have someone who's so connected to the tradition and the history, that has come to Europe with me and come to Canada multiple times, Japan, and yeah, this next week we're in like in June, whenever this gets aired. I'm not sure if it repeats, but June 2025, we'll be doing some dates, Ontario dates
Yeah.
together.
And
Yeah.
please tell us about some of your songwriting collaborations.
Yeah, well, Summer with Ray, and then Nick Hempton, who I mentioned. Miles Black is absolutely world class pianist, multi instrumentalist, arranger based in Vancouver. He's been a huge mentor of mine, and I wouldn't be here where I am without Miles Black. I also collaborated with Ken Fauser on Cold and Hot Blues, which is a really fun song for winter repertoire. I hope to hear other artists perform that at some point. Neil Miner is a fantastic bassist. He often tours with Jane Monheit and plays a lot in New York. And he wrote This Is Manhattan's Melody. I wrote the lyrics, and also another one called Mr. Right. So yeah, it's fun I'm doing more as I move forward, more of my own compositions, but it's also, I love the challenge of writing lyrics to other people's songs, because I grow as a musician just listening to their ideas and the nuances and rhythms that they choose as instrumentalists. They bring sort of a different perspective. I think I'm rooted a bit more in some of the repertoire that comes from Cole Porter and Gershwin and Irving Berlin in my sort of ears approach to composing. So they are often more bebop oriented.
Right. So what's next for you, Angela?
Well, I have a new album that's going to come out in the fall on G2, a German label. That's just a duo album with Ray Gallen and myself that has a mix of standards and originals and also collaborations. So I'm excited about that. I'm planning a trip to Italy in the fall with a wonderful rhythm section over there. And so, yeah, I may go back to Taiwan. It's tricky as an artist to like balance the time in the home office and the home studio.
Yeah.
Doing the administration. Jazz is not in a financially lucrative area, so I do a lot of things myself, including booking and travel coordination and writing grants, and as well as composing and promoting all these gigs. A lot of the venues lean more and more on artists to do the promotions. So I'm learning about that and social media. Yeah.
All right. So we like to end our sessions with a few sentences for you to complete. So no thinking. First thing that comes to mind, Angela. Ready? And number one, my being here today shows that I am
reaching listeners.
Yes. Number two, I make a good friend because I am.
Thoughtful and considerate.
And finally, a positive belief that I hold true is
That music brings us all together.
Angela Verbrugge. Thanks for being on our Jazz Spotlight today.
Thank you for having me, Ken. And thanks as well to Corey Galbraith and to Classic Jazz FM and Easy Jazz FM. Keep listening, keep supporting musicians with your listening. Thanks for checking out our interview.
Thanks for your time. Keep smiling.